To Armchair Athletes. I'm Reno,
And I'm Ed.
and we're here to talk about our NBA preview of this upcoming year. So these next 30 teams are rated from last to best, starting from number 30. And this is regular season. My thoughts on the regular season, which team's going to be the best regular season team. That's not acknowledging postseason whatsoever. Starting off with the New York Knicks at number 30. I
Yeah.
got them predicted as the last team.
All right, Reno. It's glad to have you here. I'm glad we're finally getting started on this. We've talked about this for a while now, and pretty pumped to start. I want to go over the format of exactly what the channel will be. So we'll be doing most of this channel. Reno will be covering a lot of the basketball analysis. I'll be doing a lot of the draft stuff, and then we'll post a video, about 3 videos to start for the to try to get them out up to the regular season starting. We'll put about 3 to 4 videos out a week or a day, starting on Monday, and those should come out 3 a day for the following however many days it takes. Should be 10 days, and by that point we should be ready to go. So yeah, Reno, let's go ahead and start talking about what happened last year for the Knicks. So the Knicks ended up with a 21-45 record. And that was for the 12th seed in the East. Talk a little bit about what they kind of look like, or what they look like. And yeah, you're
What they smell like. And they smell like Dookie is what they smell like. So if you want to talk about the Knicks last year, you really want to talk about their 2019, I guess their 2019 offseason, where they wanted and were shooting for the stars. And by the stars, I mean superstars and Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, all this hoopla of getting them. And then the draft pick being in the air, seeing if they can get Zion or Ja or whoever. And they ended up with RJ. Yes. And they did not get Zion. They did not get Kevin Durant. They did not get Kyrie. Uh, they drafted a 14 power forwards, and they just had not a great year. Their defense was non-existent, and their offense was mostly just give Julius Randle the ball and see if you can go for a left-handed layup. Um, and they didn't really get what they wanted with their. They have a lot of a good young core. Kevin Knox is good. RJ Barrett's good. Mitchell Robinson's good. But they didn't really have a coach last year. Who was their coach?
Who was their coach last year?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just know the coach this year is Tom Thibodeau.
Man, I can't remember for some reason. That's how bad it was. No one was watching Knicks games. Anyways, it was just not good. It wasn't good whatsoever. So now this year, we're hoping for a little bit better with a full GM front office renovation with new players. So let's go on to the next segment here.
Let's do it. So we're going to go a little bit over the offseason recap. So talk about a few of the additions that we had this year,
So first of all, I really like what they did in terms of additions. Now, Alfred Payton wasn't an addition; they kind of just re-signed him. He's had really good minutes. He's a quality defender. He's not a great shooter, but he's a solid playmaker. He's kind of like if he adds a jump shot, and brings down his turnout and maybe a little bit more of a finishing ability. He'd be like a Ricky Rubio type of player, maybe better on the defensive side. Austin Rivers is a good spark plug. Alec Burks, I think, is an underrated player. He performed really well for Golden State. Didn't give such a great stats with Philadelphia, but to be honest, last year Philadelphia was in shambles.
Yeah.
With Brett Brown and everything like that. So I think I would go more of what he did with the Warriors. So I like that sign in. Nerlens Noel is a journeyman big man, but he's a solid big man. Him and Mitchell Robinson is going to be a really good duo to hold the ground in the middle.
So they picked up a couple top draft picks this year. With the 8th pick, they picked up Obi Toppin. He's a 6'9" forward from Dayton. He has a really high vertical ability. It's through the roof. The man can jump out of the building, and with that athleticism, he's going to be a really, really good weak side defender, along with Mitchell Robinson being in the paint. I think they'll kind of really bounce off of each other work. I know they drafted a lot of power forwards, and he is another one, but he was just too good to pass up. He's a pick and roll stud with a 7'2" wingspan. So, I mean, he can take it, he can take the top off if you throw it up there to him. But also, if you start to really press down on that pick and roll, he can pop out with 30. He shot 39% from deep last year. And for a big, that's pretty solid.
Real quick, the Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's a really good player. He's possibly the best player in college last year in terms of like actual college players. I mean, you have James Wiseman and LaMelo, but James Wiseman played one game and had the whole legality issues, and LaMelo played overseas. If you're talking about pure player in college, Obi Toppin was the best, especially offensively. Now, defensively, he's really a modern day center. He kind of reminds me of John Collins a little bit over in Atlanta. He's a modern day center. The issue is he's not very laterally quick. His feet, he has some slow feet, so he's not able to defend well in space. And he's not big. He's not super big, so he's not going to be the best rim protector. I mean, he has like you said earlier, he's great vertically, but his rim protection may be So defensively, where do you put him? I think Mitchell Robinson's a perfect pair, but I don't expect Obi Toppin to be stopping anyone.
Yeah, I see him more as being a guy that can come over and help off the weak side and really just be there to use his length, kind of like we saw with Lonzo really pick up on the perimeter at least. His comp, according to NBA.com, is Tobias Harris. That's who
I see that.
And I could definitely see that as well.
Now, Tobias is a tweener between the 3 and the 4. Obi is more of a tweener between the 4 and a 5.
Yeah, especially in today's league.
And honestly, if I'm New York and if I'm trying to utilize Obi Toppin, which I'm not sure, we'll talk about his coaching in a second. But Obi Toppin, if I'm trying to utilize him, I'd play him at the 5 a lot more.
Yeah.
Allow him to run give a lot of picks to Peyton or Rivers, and see how he can go vertically over the top, go for a jump shot, or at least get the mismatch down low on the block. And he has a good, like, not a huge bag, but a solid bag of post moves. So.
Yeah. The other one here we have is Emmanuel Quickly. He's 6'3" guard from Kentucky. He was taken with the 25th pick. Actually, the Thunder took that pick and then traded them to the Knicks. Some pros and cons that he has: great lateral quickness, really good speed for his size. He's a good size, 6'3" for a combo guard in the NBA. He really fits wherever they're going to need him. He has really good length as well, and he was one of the better defenders in college last year statistically. So he's going to be really good for them as a form of size, as we've talked about a little bit. So
I like that a lot. I like that pick. I think they had a really good draft. New York had a really good draft. Obi Toppin's not a bad player at all. My biggest hiccup with Toppin is his age. He's 22, right? He's 22. Yes. Yeah. He's the oldest person in the draft. And the biggest issue with older players coming out in the draft from college is that they don't improve as much as you would like. Yeah. He's probably going to be one of the best players right out of the gate. Him and LaMelo, something like that. Having more experience under his belt in competition, and more of a NBA body. I'm worried that there won't be much growth. I like Emmanuel Quickly a lot. I think he's going to be a nice defender. He kind of reminds me of Amon Shumpert, where he's athletic. He can run the court. He's a solid finisher. And he's incredibly fast, but he has a long wingspan, and he's a very eager defender. Maybe he's a little bit too physical in terms of like going for the steal, but I like him a lot. Now, if you look at it, I think what the team won here is addition by subtraction. Now, these players right here are all solid players: Bobby Portis, Maurice Harkless, Taj Gibson, Wayne Ellington, Damian Dotson. But they had too many. They had a lot of pieces that just didn't fit this puzzle. Like, it just wasn't a nice combination. I think hopefully they start going a little bit more youth based. Which actually brings us to our next segment, the rotation. So rotations, we're going to show you who are starters and who are benches. We have Alfred Payton, Austin Rivers, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, backing up Frank Ntilikina, Alec Burke, Kevin Knox at second, Obi Toppin, and Nerlens Noel. I don't mind this bench or this I don't mind this bench. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I really like this bench. Like I said, I'm agree with you on the top, and I think he's going to be a really good player. I like him off the bench now, eventually moving him into the starting lineup. I like Kevin Knox. He's shown a lot of promise. I think with good coaching, which Tom Thibodeau I really enjoy. I really like as a coach. I think he'll be able to do good things with Kevin Knox. Alec Burks, you kind of touched on earlier. So I'm not going to repeat you there. Same with Nerlens Noel. Yeah, I really enjoy the bench. I think they'll be a good bench. Will help really support that starting lineup.
My worry. So two things. Tom Thibodeau with the Bulls, he was a coach that played a lot of minutes on his starters and also played a lot of minutes on veterans. He didn't play a lot of young players. I see Tom Thibodeau as a traditional defensive coach. I mean, he's one of the best defensive coaches in the past 10, 15 years. And he's fantastic. But I don't see this mess of players matching in with that coach. I don't see how that works out. If I were Leon Rose, their new GM, I probably would have signed Mark Jackson. He did relatively the same thing in Golden State, where he gave him the defensive identity that Tom Thibodeau did, but also that culture that
Yeah.
the Warriors use. Granted, Mark Jansen that got fired for Steve Kerr, but Steve Kerr was really there to unlock their offensive. But if you want someone to set the culture right and develop these young players, I would have went with Mark Jackson. I think he's a head coach that's been out there for too long. What is it, 6 years now? He's been out there, and he's been out there for too long. This is a perfect team for him. Alfred Payton's still young. RJ, Julius Randle's relatively young. He's only like 24, 25. Robinson, Kevin Knox. They have a really good young nucleus, and I like every player on here. I don't hate any of these players. Now, I will say I don't see Obi Toppin getting a lot of playing minutes with Thibodeau. I don't really see RJ. It depends on RJ Barrett. I think it was where this team lies. We'll see how far this team goes with RJ. And one last part about the rotation, Mitchell Robinson, I feel like is a lost player. I think he needs to be moved in order for him to maximize his ability. He's a baby DeAndre Jordan, but he has shown flares of post moves.
Yeah.
So we'll see with that. Go ahead. What's next?
All right. So next we got the NBA vibe check where Reno, you want to go and explain what that means?
Yeah, man, this is where I check the vibe and I kind of feel the vibe for this upcoming season in terms of anything that may happen rotationally or front office wise or whatever may happen. I think this is a team that is not going to make any trades in the offseason, except I think Alec Burks is going to be traded. I see him being traded because I think a contender will like him. He's a really good shooter. He's a decent defender. He's not great. He's a decent defender. And I really like Frank Ntilikina defensively. If someone needs a defensive guard off the bench, aka the Lakers or something like that, I think he'd be good there. Other than that, I don't see this team doing much. I don't see this team winning a lot of games. I don't like the fit with coach and the youth of this team. I don't think Julius Randle being your best offensive player is a way to win games. He only scores with his left hand. He's more of a traditional Zach Randolph type of power forward where he wants to play back to the basket or do a face up near the basket. He doesn't shoot a whole lot of jumpers, which is fine. I mean, he can't really hit them, but I don't I don't like the vibe of this team. I don't like it at all. I don't think they have great point guard play, so I don't really think they have anyone to initiate the offense. Alfred Payton's their best guard on this team, unless you want to count RJ Barrett. But Elfrid Payton is not a starting point guard in this league. He's a backup point guard. And so I'm just worried all the way around. And I think if Mitchell Robinson stays with the Knicks, I don't see his career being anything near what I think he has a lot of potential. I don't know if he can unlock it in this team, in this environment.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you mostly. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. So our next section we have is the 24-second shot clock. In this section, we're going to take 24 seconds, and both of us are just going to kind of give where we think they're going to end up, how many wins they're going to have, where we think they're going to end up in the East if they make the playoffs. And this is for all teams, where just kind of where they end up at the end of the season. So we'll go ahead and start that now. I don't think the Knicks are going to get a lot of wins. I could see 18, 19 wins maybe. It's going to be tough for them for all the reasons that you gave before.
I give them 22 to 25 wins. I think that they're going to have a lot of there's going to be a lot of rumors of issues, but I really think that they're going to be hoping they can get Cade Cunningham or Brandon Boston Jr. In the next draft. The next draft's going to be a big one, so I think they're going to be really shooting for that one.
All right, so that was our preseason kind of recap about the New York Knicks for this year. We think that they are will be the 30th team in the league. Reno, you got some final thoughts on the Knicks?
Yeah, I'm sorry for the Knicks fans. You guys deserve way better. The Walt Frazier was your last player Patrick Ewing, I'm sorry. Patrick Ewing was your last player to give you finals hopes. I don't believe the Carmelo Anthony hype in New York, but everything else, you guys deserve better. I'm sorry you guys are number 30. I'm sorry that your team is this way. I believe in Leon Rose. I think the agent turned GM trend in the NBA, like Rob Pelinka and Bob Myers, is doing great. We didn't get to touch on Leon Rose, but I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I just don't think this is the year. I think you guys draft your player this year, and one of those two players I mentioned, Cade Cunningham from OSU, is going to be a beast. Just cross your fingers.
Bye. All right, cool. So that was our recap of the Knicks. Next episode, we will go over the number 29 team, which you'll have to tune into to find out what that is. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any statements, please put them in the comments. Let us know. We want your feedback so we can go off of that feedback.
Like and subscribe.
Yes. All right, guys. This has been the Armchair Athletes, and y'all have a good one.
Peace.